There is a moment every man faces in life. He's doing well enough on paper, holding everything together, showing up, being dependable, being good. But inside, he feels a quiet truth that's hard to admit. He has spent years bending himself into shapes that were never truly his. He has built a life with other people's voices in his head. Parents, teachers, bosses, friends, partners, society. Always asking silently, am I doing this right? Do they approve? Will they still respect me? Am I enough in their eyes? And maybe nobody ever said it directly. Nobody commanded, live for us. But the boy inside learned early. Safety came from fitting in, pleasing, being good, avoiding conflict, not disappointing anyone. And so the man grows up thinking he's choosing freely, when in truth he's performing a role, a version of himself designed to be accepted, not to be alive. Today, we end that. Not by rebellion, not by becoming careless or selfish, but by becoming real. Because a life lived for approval isn't a life, it's a performance. And eventually, that performance suffocates the man inside. Let's walk through the transformation step by step, as Jung intended. From the man who seeks approval to the man who lives from inner authority. Stay with me. This may be one of the most important inner thresholds you ever cross. The first realization: approval isn't love. It's permission to exist. Most men don't chase approval because they're weak. They chase it because, as boys, approval meant safety. A boy depends on others to survive. He learns quickly. Being liked keeps me safe. Being useful keeps me accepted. Being agreeable keeps me loved. Being impressive keeps me valued. And so he learns not to cross boundaries, not to speak too loudly, not to express anger, not to disappoint, not to pursue his own path too boldly, in case someone withdraws approval and he is left alone. But a man's life falls apart under this strategy, because approval is not love. Approval says, be what I expect and I'll accept you. Love says, be who you are and I'll meet you there. And here's the painful truth many men eventually discover. You can gain approval by sacrificing yourself, but you will lose respect, especially your own. Before we go deeper, pause for a moment and ask yourself quietly, where in my life am I still trying to earn permission to exist? From who? And why do they still have that power? That question alone begins the shift. Now, we move to phase 2 of this transformation. Phase 2, recognizing the cost of approval. At first, seeking approval feels rewarding. You get praise, you get acceptance, you get belonging, you avoid conflict, you feel safe. But as years pass, the bill arrives, and the cost is steep. You say yes when your soul is screaming no. You hold back opinions to avoid rocking the boat. You become tired from carrying everyone's expectations. You avoid risks that could give you the life you want. You resent the people you keep trying to please. Your partner senses your lack of self-ownership. Your career stagnates because you fear criticism. Your friendships feel shallow. You secretly envy men who live boldly. But the deepest price is this: the man you might have become never gets born. Every time you silence yourself to be liked, a part of you dies. Every time you betray yourself to fit in, the boy inside tightens the cage around your spirit. Approval feels warm in the moment, but it is a warmth bought by setting yourself on fire. Some men live this way until they are 60, 70, 80, exhausted, resentful, hollow, wondering why they feel like strangers in their own lives. I don't want that for you, and I know you don't either. Which brings us to the next shift, where the man begins reclaiming himself. Phase 3, seeing approval, seeking as a shadow pattern. Jung taught that what we refuse to face inwardly controls us outwardly. Approval seeking is not a behavior problem. It is a shadow pattern born from fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of standing alone, fear of being seen and judged, fear that who I truly am isn't enough. When you chase approval, you aren't trying to be liked. You're trying to avoid abandonment. You aren't trying to be agreeable. You're trying not to be punished. You aren't trying to impress. You're trying not to disappear. But once this becomes conscious, something powerful happens. Choice returns. You realize the instinct to please is not your authentic nature. It is the boy trying not to lose safety. And here is the pivot point. Strength never comes from protecting the boy. It comes from letting the man lead. You don't kill the people-pleaser. You take the wheel back from him. Before we move forward, I want you to sit with a question that can change your life if you let it. Who was I trying to please when I first learned to be agreeable? A parent, a coach, a community, a partner, society? Naming it breaks the spell. Now we step into transformation, the actionable part. Phase 4. Practicing self-ownership daily. Real strength doesn't come from shouting, "I don't care what anyone thinks." That's rebellion, not maturity. A man who truly doesn't live for approval doesn't need to announce it. He simply chooses himself calmly, consistently, quietly. This is the difference between ego and sovereignty. Ego seeks dominance and validation. Sovereignty seeks self-respect and truth. So here's the daily practice. Practical, simple, powerful. 1. Tell the truth once a day where you normally soften it. No aggression, just honest presence. Actually, I disagree. I need some time to think. No, that doesn't work for me. I don't want that. I feel differently. One truth per day builds self-trust faster than anything else. If this journey eases something inside you, stay with us. Subscribe, and each step will bring a little more clarity. Thank you. 2. Let one person be disappointed in you per week. If this sentence scares you, good. It means you found your doorway. Strength does not come from being liked. Strength comes from knowing you will survive being not liked. 3. Spend 1 hour a day on something meaningful that no one sees or praises. Gym alone, reading, writing, building a skill, planning your path, meditation, quiet work on your mission. When no one is clapping, that is where your identity grows. 4. Notice the urge to explain yourself, and don't. Approval seekers justify everything. Strong men let their choices stand. When you feel the urge to explain, practice silence. You don't need permission for your life. And just before we go deeper, let me say this gently. Other people's disappointment in you is not danger. It's proof that you are separating from the cage. Now let's go one layer below, to the place most men never reach. Phase 5. Standing alone before you stand with others. Jung wrote that individuation requires a man to walk alone for a time, not forever, but long enough to meet himself. This is where most fall off the path, because solitude exposes truth. When you stop chasing approval, you may feel grief for who you pretended to be, fear that others may leave, confusion about who you are without performance, a sense of emptiness as external validation fades, the tension of choosing your voice over peacekeeping. This is not regression, it is withdrawal from addiction. Approval is psychological alcohol. Coming off it shakes you, but soon something deeper emerges. Something steady, masculine, grounded. Your voice becomes clearer. Your energy rises. Your decisions sharpen. Your relationships become more honest. Weak connections fall away. Strong people enter your life. Confidence shifts from performance to presence. And then a major milestone arrives. You realize that losing approval never killed you, but losing yourself almost did. Now you're ready for the final phase. Phase 6, living from inner authority. This is where approval stops mattering, not because you're hardened, but because you've become rooted. A man who is self-led chooses purpose over applause, speaks softly but stands firm, listens without surrendering himself, loves without losing himself, builds without seeking credit, protects without needing praise, gives without needing admiration, has boundaries without drama. He doesn't need to be seen as strong, because he knows he is. People feel it in him, a quiet dignity, a calm intensity, a presence. He has learned the rarest masculine skill, to stay true to himself when the world pulls. This is the man Jung spoke of, the integrated man, the sovereign man. This is the man others follow not out of fear or admiration, but because he is real. Closing. Your turning point. Right here, right now, ask yourself one question and answer honestly. Where in my life am I still earning permission to exist? That is where your work begins. But do not rush. This path is walked daily, quietly, deliberately. Not perfectly, reliably. Choose one thing today. Tell one truth. Say one number. Risk one disapproval. Do one thing for your future self. Sit one moment in your own presence without needing applause. Approval is borrowed safety. Self-respect is earned freedom. One day, without noticing exactly when it happened, you will wake up and realize you no longer live to be liked. You live to be true. And from that day on, your life is yours. Well done for being here. Few men walk this path consciously, but you are already walking it. Continue. Begin. If you've stayed with me until now, it means you're searching for something deeper, maybe an answer you've carried since childhood. Don't stop here. Perhaps the next video holds the key you've been waiting for, the piece that helps you untangle another thread of your story.